Good morning and welcome into the number one Group of Five football podcast of all time. This is the Group of Five guys. If you're new here, if you don't know who we are, our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs, a voice that we've witnessed once again. The mainstream sports media just absolutely will not be. We need your help to do that. We need you to follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of Five Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, tell your family and friends all about us. On this Monday morning live, we're going to recap week 0. We're going to talk a little bit about the quarterback performances across the country there. Talk about what we witnessed on College Game Day's first episode of the season. Talk about a couple of the games, some collapses this weekend, but we're going to talk about plenty more. Hope you enjoy the show. Have you had it from somebody born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana, at a tailgate? Doubt it.
I said Michael Pratt has got to show up and play, and boy did he. 394 yards, 4 touchdowns, 48 rushing yards on the ground, and another touchdown.
Projected getting drafted between the first and third round. Like, that's incredible.
That's
the wide receivers are absolutely stacked for the Group of Five.
Yeah, I really appreciate you do for the Group of Five programs, and I think it's great. I think we should get more of this. But you guys are on the forefront of this, and
so I'm thankful for this. I'm glad that you're talking about the Group of Five because I think they get overlooked.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
Well, Jeff, as you know, as our loyal fans, as Mr. Juan's World, he may be the only one in the live chat first thing this morning. But if you are on Twitter, Facebook, watching live, make sure you go over to the YouTube app or just youtube.com. Join the live chat on there. It gets to be a lot of fun. But before we get going, Jeff, got my coffee going. That's why you saw me, I had to go back downstairs. I poured my cup of coffee, left it on the counter, came back up here, which I knew I could not do a show. But as we mentioned last week, guys, we have partnered with Deca Gray Coffee Company. This is a roast to order, right? So when you go on there and you order your thing, they ain't putting it ain't just sitting on shelves in a bag or in a tin. Okay. They're going to roast this to order. So, and then it still gets to your house in a couple of days. I got mine in like 2 or 3 days shipping, but they've got a special on there. Group of Five Guys Game Day Dark Roast. Make sure you go on www.decagray.com. That's DECAGRAY.com and use our promo code GOFG for a discount, 10%.
Yeah, and not only that is, you get these coffees from the grocery store, and not knocking them, but Sprouse, me and you, I feel like we're pretty up and up on the health scene. At least we try to be. A lot of articles and studies showing that a lot of these coffees you buy in the store been sitting there for so long, been sitting on the shelves, they actually have these small mold particles in them. But the roast to order, let me tell you, you're not getting none of that stuff because it's not sitting. It's not just collecting, all this stuff by sitting. So go check them out, man. It's a great coffee company.
Yeah, you know what I've been doing, Jeff? So I have the the Sprouses. We're very bougie, and we've been doing well in this economy. So we have one of the delay, like I can delay a coffee maker. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like I
that's
set it
nice.
at night. Yeah. So we pour. So I take the scoops of my Deca Gray, scoop it in the little filter thing, put it in there, put it on delay, kick it off for 5 a.m. So that way, when I wake up, it's already you just hear you wake up and you hear it trickling into the pot. Whole house smells. You got the aroma.
That's big time.
I tell you, even if you don't like coffee, that you can't beat that.
No, no, you can't.
Especially as it's been a little cooler over the last couple of days.
I know it's starting to cool down. We're starting to get that fall weather kind of creeping in. Football season's here, and if you're like me, I don't have the fancy, set it and forget it, but I got the Keurig, and you can buy a pack of the little reusable Keurig cups. That's what I got, man. Fill that sucker up, put it in there, and then you can use it in the dishwasher or just rinse it out, either one, and have a nice fresh cup ready to go.
Yeah, but y'all make sure you go decagrade.com. Use our promo code GOFG. Jeff, we had football this weekend.
Yes, we did.
Did anything jump off the screen to you? I mean, a lot of, well, you have the one major upset to start the day, right? The Georgia Tech Florida State game. Maybe an upset according to the preseason polls, which is exhibit A of why we always say they need to get rid of those. Because I'll bet you this, Jeff. I'll bet you come when the polls come out, and I don't know how they're going to come out. I don't know if they even do a new one after week 0. I don't think they do. But I'd be willing to bet you that Florida State is going to be ranked higher than Georgia Tech still, which is exactly why preseason polls need to be abolished.
Yeah, they make no sense. And that, to me, that was my biggest, kind of takeaway from the weekend was Florida State looked very mediocre. I mean, they were not very impressive on either side of the ball, in my opinion. Georgia Tech, and shout out our guy Buster Faulkner, he was our OC at middle. Took it to him. I mean, played bully ball and took one of the top Power 4 teams. They were, Florida State was upset. They thought they should have been in the playoff last year, and Georgia Tech took it to them, ran right at them. So, and this is what we say all the time, right? Like, people are like, oh, how did this happen? This is such an upset. I put on Twitter, I'm like, to me, this isn't an upset. This is just more proof that the gap that people think is a lot closer. It's a lot closer than people think. And I know Georgia Tech's not a Group of 5 team, but they weren't in the conversation of being a top Power 4 team or even a top ACC team. So, sell it on the field. That's what you need to do. Yeah. Play the game, see where the chips fall, and then you can assess. But like you said, the preseason rankings just give more ammunition to this nonsense that this team is so much greater than the other. You gotta play the game, and that's what we always say is play the game.
Yeah. I got to say, my ring light just cut off in the middle of your little monologue there. So if my screen's going to be fuzzy or dark, that's what happened. But yeah, also shout out Jeep Wade, the O-line coach at Georgia Tech.
Absolutely.
Another middle guy. I mean, it's amazing how that happens, huh, Jeff?
That stock couldn't get good coaching.
I'll tell you what sort of jumped off the page to me, and this is expected in week 0, right? And it'll be a little bit this way in week 1 too, is just sloppy, man. Just a lot of mistakes, sloppy football. I thought, the Florida State kid did not look great at quarterback. They kept calling him just DJU. But to me, the first thing that came to my head, Jeff, when I was watching this, and then I was seeing Twitter, everybody just crushing that kid on Twitter, is, I remember very vividly when he left Clemson, and I remember his father on social media just blasting Dabo Swinney. It was in matter of fact, I think it was a week 1 or a week 0 game when Clemson's new quarterback, Cade Klubnik, came in and didn't play well. And his DJU's dad was on Twitter talking about how bad Dabo's the problem. It's the offense, the Clemson's problem. Well, now here you are, you're on school number 3, and it's still not working out. And so, I tweeted about that. I want to see the results of somebody that transfers one time versus somebody that transfers on multiple occasions. Because, again, there's always outliers, there's always circumstances, but at some point when you just continue to go somewhere else, you got to take a look in the mirror, right? I mean, think about this, Jeff. Think about if you were applying for a job and on your resume in you had 3 different jobs in 3 years or every 6 months. I guarantee they're going to ask you about that. Well, what happened? Why didn't this work out? And what are you going to say? The first one, you'd be like, I didn't like my manager. Second one, didn't like the company culture. Third one, wasn't getting paid enough. Okay, well, at some point you got to realize, like, maybe this is the way jobs work. You don't like everybody. It's not great. And that's the same thing I feel like with these organizations. And again, if you can transfer and it is a good fit, go for it. But I just think we're seeing, and we're seeing them go to different places, and we've talked about this before, different systems, different offenses, and they never ever, I think in that clip you had of Tom Brady that we listened to, you never get to learn a system and develop. And you're always just chasing the next thing, and you're being recruited and being named as a starter just based on pure talent, arm talent, or pure like recruiting rankings. But I don't see anybody writing articles about 5 stars being busts with this kid. Only when Maddox Madsen beats out Malachi Nelson is when you start seeing articles about 5 stars not doing well. But here you got a kid that keeps getting plugged in and it's not happening. But you don't see that being the article.
I just don't understand, and I sort of feel bad for DJ. Like, kudos to him for getting his bag multiple different places and continuing to get the opportunity to play. I don't really fault him for that, but this is to me a recruiting miss. Like, this is the people who rank these players. Like, he's had plenty of tape, and not only is it a miss by the website and whoever these magical people are that give the stars and hype players up that are in the portal and all this other nonsense, but I mean, can Florida State not find a better guy? This guy's had tape, multiple games, multiple seasons of tape, and he hasn't. This is how he's looked. So, like, at some point, Florida State's got to take a little bit of ownership here. And, you brought him in. Maybe you thought you could fix him, but it didn't look like it. I mean, he did fine against zone coverage. He seemed to be able to hit his spots. But when it was man coverage, he couldn't hit anybody. And, at the end of the day, as a player, like, you got to step up and be the guy if you get the opportunity. But I just, coming from that world, knowing how hard it was to get a opportunity, it's a little frustrating that a kid who, again, just has not shown it on film and on tape gets opportunity after opportunity after opportunity because of the rankings.
Well, and I think that's what it is. I think the portal, this is speculation here, but I think it's making coaches and their recruiting a little bit lazy, right? Because I think they think, okay, they had, what's his name last year? Got hurt. I can't even remember his name. Anyway, you have a really good quarterback, and instead of trying to recruit and replace him and develop somebody, I think that's the mindset is, well, we'll just wait for the portal and we'll get the best guy. We're Florida State. We'll get the best guy in the portal. And I think it's a lot of it is the same way that the committee does with picking a top team. They're picking their top guy based off a name or off of something that happened a couple years ago in the recruiting. And I think it does. I think it's created a laziness to the recruiting game. However, that's where you're going to see the schools that can afford it. They're going this general manager route. I saw Alabama just paid somebody like $850K a year.
Yeah.
All field coaches making $1 million now, Jeff.
That's insane.
Where did we go wrong? But that's going to be the thing, and they're going to be the ones that are sort of in charge of building the roster. College football is going to look a lot different. I mean, it already does, but it's going to keep looking more and more different. But Jeff, I thought outside of DJU, honestly, I didn't really think any of the QBs looked great. I thought the kid at Nevada, Brendan Lewis, I thought he maybe looked a lot better than I expected. And we'll get into Nevada here in a little bit. They looked a lot better than expected. But SMU, it's funny how that works, huh? SMU a year ago, see, this is why the Group of Five can't make the playoff. SMU this year is a lot of people say they're going to play for an ACC championship. But Preston Stone, he looked bad. He got better as the game went, I thought. And boy, that tight end they got special now. Merriweather, I think, or Mayweather.
Maryland.
Yeah.
RJ Maryland.
Yeah.
He's a good player. Yeah, it was weird, like, because he played a couple series, Preston Stone did, and then they put the backup in for like 3 or 4 series. I was like, is Stone hurt or like what's going on here?
Yeah.
And I never really found out why. Maybe, somebody in the chat or somebody can reach out and let us know what the final thing was, but you don't just pull your starter, who was the starter all last year with, great numbers, for 4 series in the first week of the game. Like, I told my brother-in-law, we were watching the game, I was like, yeah, they're probably just getting the backup. I know some teams do this. They get the backup the 3rd series of the game. That way, in case something happens, he's he's had some live action, but then he kept going back out there for like 3 or 4 more series. I was like, I'm so confused on why Preston Stone's on the game. They haven't said, he got injured or anything like that, but yeah, he came back in, and I think you got to give credit to Nevada a little bit. Their defense in that secondary. I mean, they had that interception early on, and they were squeezing routes. They were playing the ball very, very well. And I thought they were flying around with far more energy than SMU was. Now, I'll say both teams looked a little sloppy and undisciplined, a lot of stupid penalties. There was a lot of chippiness going back and forth. But no, I think you got to give Nevada a whole lot of credit for being ready, and Jeff Chote, I think that's how you say his last name. You got to give them credit, man. He had his guys ready to play, and they were not worried or not scared. They were like, we're going to go toe to toe with you guys.
Well, they definitely played with a lot of confidence, I thought, especially like you said, after that first interception. I think for the first time in a long time, those guys were thinking, well, now wait a second, we got a chance here. And I think that started building, and then until the end, they started making some mistakes, and that then it started to unravel a little bit. What did you watch? Now, I didn't watch all 3 hours, but did you watch any of the game day show?
I watched a little bit of it. I saw their picks, obviously, and I saw a couple other like little snippets from it. But I mean, same old song and dance to me. I think having Saban on there gives them a little more credibility.
It does.
But even
he's the only one that said Georgia Tech might be good. Weird. The guy that's in the trench or has been kind of had a feeling about something.
Yep. Yeah, he knows ball. That guy's been around it for so long and literally was in it last year. So he knows all these coaches. He knows, a lot more than these guys underneath the covers. So, I mean, of course he's going to have a little more inside information.
Well, that was something I was going to bring up. So somebody tweeted this. So, he was at Florida State's practice the day before the game. Now, he's also still got a job as a, quote, advisor at Alabama. So I think that's something we gotta think about here.
Yeah.
Right? He puts on the ESPN hat and he's just walking all around facilities, watching tape, watching live practices, and then he goes back to Tuscaloosa, sits in the office next to Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. I didn't know he was really still in an advisory position right there.
Yeah, well. But anyway, as far as I saw, and I kind of had it on and off, seemed to me like they spent 3 hours on the show, and they didn't even pick the games from Saturday, other than the Florida State Georgia Tech game. They moved all the way to this week to the Thursday night games to start making picks. I didn't see them pick Nevada SMU or New Mexico Montana State or the Hawaii Delaware State game. I didn't see them make a pick on that. That's come on, man. There's 5 games.
Yeah,
know what I mean? And
it's lazy.
And it's gotten to the point now where they make their picks, and they all make picks like they're the damn celebrity, which, by the way, shout out to Seamus. He did pick Georgia Tech on there. But, it's like they're making picks, and they don't even have a real reason to make the pick. And I get that. We've done that before. But I don't know. I miss the days when they would have a good breakdown and a reason why they thought a certain team would win outside of, oh, we're in Ireland. Luck of the Irish. Duh. It's like, all right, guys, and so, but I say all that to say, they could have done that with Nevada SMU. I mean, they could have just picked it for the fun of it and mentioned the names. I will say though, they are now forced to talk about the Group of 5 with this playoff. If you notice that, but it don't seem like they like it. And I thought when they made their picks, I think you have that clip, Jeff.
I do.
When they picked their playoff contender teams, I thought that was very lazy. And I'm not saying those were bad picks or wrong picks, but very chalk, very just because picks.
Yeah, let's listen to it. We'll talk about it.
So who is the best team in the Group of 5? I'm going with Jamie Chadwell and Liberty. I think they're looking at their second straight undefeated regular season. So I'm going Liberty.
I'm going with Boise State.
Wow.
Maddox Madsen wins the starting quarterback job over Malachi, and it's a big story. Gene T, the running back, can move. Give me the Boise State.
I think Memphis State has a chance to move in there. I mean, nobody knows who this team's going to be. There's always somebody that nobody talks about that moves up in the top 25. There's always somebody in the top 10 that falls out of Always. So, I mean, it's hard to pick who this is. You know, I spent my entire coaching career accosting people who speculate, make predictions, and ask hypothetical questions.
What?
Now you're in this world.
So now I'm in this world. This is my gig, and it's hard.
Yeah, you better be right. You better be right.
Hard.
Yeah, you better be right too. You better be right.
I think Boise State. You know, I think they're prime. They got some good skill. They've settled on the quarterback, which is a bit of a surprise.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the team can really rally around that. I think that this is one of those years that blue turf. They could be in that playoff this year.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I just thought all their takes were a little surface level, but I guess
McAfee at least had some players. You know, Saban, he didn't really give a reason why he said Memphis State. And the fact that that's what they were called when that guy first started coaching.
Yeah.
I mean,
at least see, he knows though, because none of those other team or guys on that panel, or they said Liberty, who's obvious, that was in it. It would be the spot last year, and then Boise.
And Boise's the big name. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, they had the other guy picked App, I think.
Did he?
The guy
that's
Bear,
off
the new guy, Stanford Steve, right? Isn't that who that is?
I don't know.
But I mean, yeah, and again, I'm not saying those picks are wrong, because we probably going to pick a lot of the same ones, but just felt like not a lot of prep, not a lot of effort going into those games. What about now? They tried to explain the CFP, the rules on several occasions, and there was one that was like a commercial that Herb Street gave, which was a pretty decent one, except for, I'll be honest with you, I just found this out. I just realized this on Saturday. That fifth conference champion is not necessarily going to be the 12. They're going to be seated where their ranking is. So let's just say if a Liberty is the Group of 5 champion and they're the fifth auto bid, but they're ranked 11, they're going to be the 11 seed. See, I did not know that. I didn't really realize that. So that's a big thing. But they all kept making the point of them being the 12 seed, which is not true.
Yeah,
because they could be higher than that, and theoretically they could be the 4 if you have an upset of some sort in the championship game.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes back to them not really knowing, and these are the best of the best on the biggest show and the biggest platform. I don't know. To me, it just shows that they don't care and they don't believe that the Group of 5 should be included.
Yeah, one other thing that I wanted to bring up on this is, I did think it was pretty funny as they all picked their national champion and they all picked their conference champions. They all went, the obvious ones. But I thought the funniest part about it was when they picked the SEC and every single one of them picked Georgia, and Desmond Howard made the comment. I said, well, this one's easy. And so to me, right, and I'm not saying that the SEC is not good, but when we always talk about this, different levels, different sports, this and that, and all your experts got on there and said the SEC is the easiest one to pick, and Georgia's just, nobody's going to beat Georgia. Right. And I agree. Okay. Right. I agree. Georgia has been the last couple of years head and shoulders above everybody else. And again, that's the key. Everybody else, not Georgia State, as some of the pundits want to say, not just Georgia Southern, as they want to say, but the entire country, the entire SEC. So we get into all these arguments. I'm seeing all these people can't wait for Group of 5 champion to get blasted in the first round. Yeah, maybe, just like everybody else has. Like it just kills me. There's just no rationale with these people, and
there's not.
Oh man, I'm gonna have an aneurysm at some point in this season.
Well, and the last thing I'll say about it is, if Georgia Tech can take down Florida State, who was ranked number 10, who a lot of pundits were saying were a favorite to win it all. Like, if they can handle Florida State, Georgia Tech's not that far off from Tulane, Liberty, Memphis, Boise State. Like, so I think
Exactly.
that's where I get confused with these guys, where it's like, okay, Group of Five doesn't belong, but Georgia Tech hasn't been lauded as a top Power 4 team, but they just took down the number 10 team in the country. And now everyone's like, oh, well, I saw it. They lost 13, starters last
This
year.
is why
And all
we didn't
this
put
stuff.
them in the playoff last year. We knew they were a fraud. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now the narrative changes, but it's like you just saw it happen. And it didn't happen because so-and-so said so. It happened because you settled it on the field. That's what you got to do. And if a team gets blown out, they get blown out, and it's been proven, and there you go. But you got to give them the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, what did you think about just the weekend? Did you have anybody top performer wise? I thought there was a lot of bad football, like great games, entertaining, close games, but a lot of bad, sloppy football. So I had a really hard time picking out a top performer. So I'm going to go to you on this.
Yeah. And before I get to my top performers, I do want to shout out the live chat. We got a good crew in there. Matt Hardigan, again, he's 6 for 6. Let's see how long this record goes for old Matt checking in every morning. Mr. Juan's World is in there. Daniel Bremer is in there. He's a Wyoming fan. Shout out to him. And our guy Josh is in there as well. So if you're listening on Twitter or Facebook, hop over to YouTube. Got a good live chat in there. Goes back and forth. And we'll shout you guys out.
Wyoming is a Wyoming fan. Is he in? Is he?
I'm not
coming
sure.
in from
Daniel,
Laramie? I mean, it's 4 o'clock in the
I
morning.
know. Well, maybe he's an early riser. Maybe he gets up.
Maybe he's up there. He's got his Deca Gray. He put a little creatine in there.
No doubt.
I'll tell you, that's a little trick of the trade, Jeff. If you want to do a pre-workout without all the junk, just make you a black coffee. Go on Amazon, buy you just plain unflavored creatine, unflavored beta-alanine. Just mix it up in there with your little black coffee. I tell you, your face starts feeling like ants are crawling on the face. That's when you know it's working.
He said he's in the Atlantic time zone.
Oh, well, he's with me then. It's already 7 o'clock. Disregard that. But anyway, Jeff, yeah, go. What was your top performers there?
Yeah, I had a couple here. I thought that Brendan Lewis, quarterback for Nevada, had a very productive day. I thought that he looked a whole lot better than I thought he was going to look. He was 14 to 26, only 132 yards, but he did have 2 touchdowns and 77 rushing yards added on top of that. Not the prettiest performance in the world, but I respect that kid's grit and his grind, man. He never gave up. He made big plays when he had to, especially with his feet. And he gave SMU a whole lot of problems. So I think, that was an encouraging sign. I think their 2 biggest question marks, and they had a lot of them, but 2 biggest ones were the quarterback position and their defense. I thought both looked pretty good in week 0. And you can count, everyone's going to look a little rusty. It's the first game of the season, and you're playing a week earlier than everybody else is. So shout out to Brendan Lewis, Nevada quarterback. To piggyback on top of that, I had Nevada's defense as well. I know in the second half, SMU made a comeback, and they ended up ultimately winning, but it was just nice to see Nevada's defense fly around, hit people, and make plays on a very, especially last year, and I know it's a new season, but SMU's offense was dynamic, man. They put up a ton of numbers and a ton of points. So for them to do that, I think was a welcome sight for Wolfpack fans. So we'll look to see how they are continuing going forward. And the last one was Hawaii quarterback Braden Schrager. Not as efficient as I thought. I thought that they were honestly going to take it to Delaware State a little bit more, but he had 2 touchdowns in the air, also 2 touchdowns on the ground. So, they did what they had to do. And it was a good building block on the season. So shout out to Shager.
Yeah, I thought, and going back to Brendan Lewis at Nevada, he's going to be one to watch all year because they're going to be outmatched in most games in the Mountain West too. And I think he's going to keep them in some games. And he pretty much is. He's about all they got on offense now. And then on their defense, you're right, man. That SMU offense is supposed to be that Rhett Lashley offense is supposed to be high powered. I mean, they didn't let Jalen Knighton or any of those running backs get going. And Jalen Knighton, that guy's a home run threat every time he touches the ball. Transfer Rhett Lashley brought him with him when he came back to SMU from Miami, and that guy I mean, that guy's special. I think he only carried the ball 4 or 5 times.
He
Only had
didn't
like 8
play
or 9
very much.
yards.
He didn't play very
Yeah.
much. They had that. I think his last name was Rice. Maybe he was a converted
Mm-hmm.
receiver to running back. I was like, look, buddy, I got Knighton on over on his rushing yards. We didn't get
I
him.
know.
We didn't
Me
get
too.
him in the game.
Me too.
Get him in the game. Give him some
Yeah.
touches.
Well, and you wonder what the reasoning behind that is. And all jokes aside, yeah, week 0 in a non-conference but on both sides, you're trying to work out some kinks, trying to see plug and play some things, see what works, see what doesn't work. And you don't really know, you don't have a whole ton of tape on your opponent either, especially if you have a new coaching staff like Nevada, or, at Nevada or wherever. But I'll tell you, man, I got to go to the worst of the weekend, Jeff. And there's nothing more frustrating than what we witnessed with both New Mexico and Nevada. I think just collapses. And I was texting you guys during the New Mexico game. I'm sitting on the patio watching that game, and New Mexico looks like they're rolling. Montana State comes back a little bit. I'm saying, oh, never mind. Then New Mexico sort of steps on it again, and I'm thinking, okay, they've put it away now. But I mean, they blow a 31-14 lead in the fourth quarter, Jeff. And what you have in both of these games, but in this one, what you start having is just mental lapses. You're about to win, right? You got the team on the ropes. You got to put your foot on their neck and end it. And then you start dropping passes just out of nowhere. It's like these teams that have been bad for a long time, they just figure out a way to lose. You talk about good teams and great teams, right? They look terrible, but they find a way to win. At the end of the game, just somehow you're like, okay, we look terrible. Their coach is going to rip them in the press conference, but they find a way to get it done and they find a way to win. And with New Mexico and Nevada this weekend, it was like the opposite. They had those games in the bag. New Mexico then starts dropping passes on third downs, giving the ball back to Montana State. And then defensively, they start missing tackles. They start letting little dump check down plays go for 20, 30 yards. And they give up quick scores. And now part of that is it's one of my biggest pet peeves in football is defenses start playing conservative when they're up like that. And we see it all the time. Now I get it. You also don't want to be super aggressive and give up a big play because your guy gets beat, but at the same time, you're allowing them something. You're giving them. You're giving up the middle of the field, or you're giving up, less than 20 yards. And then what happens is you just let them go right down the field and score on you. It happens every year. Every week it happens with a team like this with a big lead. But they do that. And then Nevada, 24-13 lead with 8 minutes left. And it starts with the fumbled snap in the end zone. And it's just like one of those things that, you're playing well. You got them on the ropes. You got Jeff tweeting. You got me tweeting about it. And then I don't know, man. It's so frustrating. And we've been a part of teams that are like this. Mm-hmm. Where it just seems like, or a dumb penalty, and man, I don't know. By the way, did the SMU kid? What did he do? Spit on the Nevada player?
He spit on the player. He got kicked out, and then he was trying to stay on the sideline, and the refs were like, "Nah, buddy, you got to go. Like you're."
But he was like adamant that he did not do it.
I didn't see it specifically. Yeah, I'm sure there is. I mean, they'll go back and look at it. I believe that. Is he suspended for the first half of next game? I don't know how that. I forget what the ruling is, but
goes.
For me, it's New Mexico's was tougher to swallow. I mean, they're both. You hate losing those leads, but New Mexico, you hope they put that away. Now Montana State, they played hard, and shout out to Tommy Malott, their quarterback. Man, he engineered a comeback and made big plays when he had to. And we'll get into that game a little bit more here, but. Nevada wasn't even supposed to be in that game. So,
That's right.
And again, like, doesn't excuse the fact that you gave up that lead. I guess it's just a little bit, easier to deal with, I guess. But, yeah, you hate to see that. My worst of the weekend was I went with the voters and the preseason rankings.
Nice.
And we talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, but stop with the preseason rankings. Wait for a couple weeks into the season because, I don't think it's going to matter as much. It should matter for Georgia Tech. Like that them beating a number 10 ranked team in the country, like they should be ranked pretty high in my opinion, but they won't. But on the flip side, if, Michigan would have beat a ranked top 10 Florida State, that would have been like, oh man, like that's a huge win for Michigan. They have a huge, win early in the season with a ranked opponent. So, my biggest worst of the weekend was the people who make the rankings and the people who rank the players on these websites. Because you saw it with DJU. You see it year in and year out where they just overhype and oversell these players. And I saw a graphic, and I can't remember who the other quarterback was, but they had DJU at the time when he was coming in. CJ Stroud. That's exactly who it was. They had DJU at number 1 and Stroud at number 2. And it's like, misses are going to happen. But like after his first stop and it didn't work and he was assessed on the field, like he should have dropped his rankings.
Yeah. Well, and going back to the team rankings, I think here's what's frustrating the most, right? Is let's say Georgia Tech comes back and loses by a last second field goal next week or in 2 weeks. Then they'll drop right out of the rankings. They'll be like, oh yeah, see, we knew they didn't belong. Now, if Florida State comes back this week and wins, they're going to say, oh, there's the Florida State that we know. That's who they are. We knew Georgia Tech was fraud, but we knew. And so you'll see a team that's 1-1 and another team that's 1-1 and a head-to-head loss be ranked 10, 12 spots ahead of the team that they lost to because of preseason rankings. And I get it. They're fun. They get clicks. They get fans talking, and they get games hyped up, which is I think that's the main point, right? It's TV because they want to be able to say you got a top 10 matchup on Saturday, this and that. But, you really don't know much until they start playing in conference. 5, 6 weeks into the year, you really don't know because they're going to play a bunch of teams and they're going to do different. They're going to play differently against either team. But I agree, man. I just think that was a perfect example. Or now it could go like you said. If it's a team that they want to be good, that they want in the top 10, if it was a team that's been bad, okay, here's an example: Colorado last year, right? Everybody kind of knew TCU was going to be down last year after their national championship run. And then Colorado beats them, and Colorado goes from unranked to like number 8 in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then they take Colorado State, who's middle of the road at best in the Mountain West a year ago, 3 overtimes to beat them. And they hype it up like they just won the Super Bowl. So the narrative is there, right? The narrative is going to be there with SMU. They won that game, and they're going to be like, Preston Stone is exactly who we thought. He looked good at, in the game, comeback win, blah, 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 blah. And it just is really frustrating the way that they can control the narrative either way. I mean, either way that it goes, they can control it. And again, we've been saying this all the time. If you're Georgia Tech or hell, it really happened to Florida State last year. But you better quit thinking that you're on this high horse ahead of the group of 5 because you're right there with us fighting the same battle. So I think you're more than welcome to come on down. Water's fine over here in the group of 5. But yeah, man, those were both my. Let's talk about those games a little bit. You're right. Nevada was 28-point underdogs. And matter of fact, New Mexico was 2 touchdown underdogs against Montana State. So they both had a chance to win at home, which again, I almost put that in my worst of the weekend. I thought all the crowds were pretty lame for being the only games on. You got no excuse at that point. But I do think if both New Mexico and Nevada ended up winning those games, I think that would have helped when you came back home for your next home game. And unfortunately, it's games like that'll really turn off a fan base real quick, because I can promise you there was people sitting in the stands throwing their hands up saying, "Yep, here we go again. This is what we are. This is us. We do it every year, every week." Again, we were part of a team that was like that, and the fans were like that. And so, but I thought for New Mexico, I thought the quarterback Dampier looked okay. he looked like he was capable again of keeping them in some games. It's hard to tell. Montana State's they are an FCS school, so that ain't Mountain West now. But I don't know what you thought about that, Jeff.
I thought Dan Pierre played well. I thought he surprised me, positively, more than I thought he would. He had 172 passing yards, had a touchdown on the ground as well, and one in the air. Didn't have any picks, which was huge. So he didn't lose his team the game, in my opinion. He made big plays when he had to. Now, to take the next step up, you got to figure out a way to pull your team out of that and win. But no, I thought he played well. Luke Wysong, their receiver, had a bunch of big plays on the outside. He'll be a name to kind of keep an eye on looking forward. He almost had 100 yards on the day. Their defense has to figure it out. You can't give up 362 yards on the ground. You do that, you're going to have a tough time winning football games. So for me, and I know Montana State, they're very talented running the ball, but you can't have that. And a lot of those runs were 15, 20 yards, 30 yards. They were gash plays. So, their defense has to figure it out. Up front, they were getting manhandled. And that's not what you want to see from your defensive front. And you got to give credit to that offense too. Tommy Malott played fantastic. He threw the ball a whole lot better than he showed a year ago. And he's a dynamic player. You got to tip your cap a little bit, but you have the game. You got to figure out a way to close that one out and get a win to start your season off on the right foot.
Yeah, and then same with Nevada. We talked about it quite a bit already. Brendan Lewis, I thought, played pretty good. I thought he looked like he's going to be a pretty good player. And then defensively, they played well too against what's supposed to be a very good SMU offense. But again, you just gotta close it out, man. Got to. What about Hawaii? First of all, that's a big problem. This Hawaii game's not being on TV.
That was my other worst of the weekend.
Can we go back to my worst of the week?
Yep.
I'm sitting there. It's 1:00 in the morning, and I'm flipping through. I'm thinking, why the hell can I not find this? I'm going FS1, FS2, all the ESPN channels, and then they tell me it's on the Spectrum.
Yeah, it was on the Spectrum. That's type of Spectrum. I tell you what,
Jeff.
The people who are deciding where these games are going to be.
Well, what is that? That happened a couple years ago, I think, right? Hawaii, because don't they have to buy it? I feel like they had games on pay-per-view or something one year. I might be way off on this.
I can't remember the network. I bought a subscription to one just because I wanted to watch. It was a Mountain West After Dark game, and I don't know if it was Spectrum, but it was one of those other random streaming channels or apps that you can order. But yeah, that sucks.
You guys have been trying to get me to go away from DirecTV for years. Wow, YouTube TV, wow, Hulu TV, blah,
I
blah.
have DirecTV.
And everybody's been telling me, and I tell you what's happening right now is the streaming services are it's going all the way back full circle, right back to where you got to have cable. Because I'm not about to pay. That's the thing. Yeah, YouTube TV might be cheaper than DirecTV, but then if I want to watch another channel, I got to get Hulu TV. Then if I want to watch another channel, apparently I got to get Spectrum TV. So you can pay for 8 streaming services when you could just have cable. That's my thought. Maybe, but I like DirecTV. Remember when DirecTV came out and it was all about football? That was their whole play. Was Sunday Ticket.
That's Sunday Ticket. Yeah. Now YouTube has it.
Yeah, I remember there was that guy there was a commercial too making fun of DirecTV. Remember, it had this dude that was walking around the house talking to the wife, and he was walking in every room, and he was like, "Well, you have football here, football here." Yeah. He's like, "Yeah, football right here in the kitchen," and I was like, "Yeah, sign me up, buddy."
Well, Daniel Bremer in the chat says, Wyoming's been in the Barstool Bowl the last 2 years, and he said he couldn't watch it because he's not going to pay for a subscription, not a prescription,
to watch one game. See, that was me with the Dolphins Chiefs game last year. Remember, it was on. The hell was it on? Something different. But and I didn't. And luckily I bootlegged it, or actually I had many people. Generous people in the Twitter were like, "She's my password, bro." So,
nice. There you go.
Yeah, man. What you got? It looked like you read something in the chat that was funny.
No, it's nothing. But yeah, no, Hawaii, man, I thought that they were going to take care of Delaware State and really take it to them offensively. Now they won 35-14, but it was a tie ball game there for a while. And then they kind of pulled off. And Shager, he did his thing. He showed up and had a great game. Pofeli Ashlock, another great performance, had 5 catches, 81 yards. Didn't get in the end zone. And I do like the fact that, they ran the ball 27 times. I think they were trying to make it a point to really work on their run game, realizing that I know it's the, run and shoot, but you got to be able to at least have a little bit of ground presence. That way they can't just completely sit back and play coverage. But I thought they were going to score 50, 60 some points, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So I'll chalk some of that up to week 0, the jitters and still making mistakes and learning, this offense and everybody finding their piece. But I think Hawaii's offense is going to be solid.
Yeah, I think they'll be good. And here's the deal: of all the teams, they are the only team that was the favorite that did okay, right? Won big. I mean, you go from Florida State, you go SMU, you go Montana State. I mean, none of those teams looked all that great. But
I do want to add something else real quick, kind of in the backtrack. I saw it in the chat that Matt Hardigan put. He goes, Nevada worries me a little bit because he's a Troy fan.
I know.
And they do got to travel all the way to Troy, Alabama and play that game. So, but when you have a quarterback that can run around and make plays, anything can happen. He can,
Well, that's who always gives good defenses fits.
Yep.
Just because they're not traditional. You can't really game plan for something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we shall see. But we got a couple voicemails from the weekend, don't we, Jeff?
We sure do. Go ahead and shout
Let's
that.
Get them. You guys call the voicemail. So here's how we're thinking, because this is the first week now of live shows where we have football. So we're thinking, Monday's definitely a show where we're going to have to talk about what happened on the weekend. And as there's 100 games, this show's going to probably get longer and longer. We're going to have to be really, really disciplined about moving off of games quickly. Wednesday will be probably the more fun, off-topic type show, and then we'll also discuss the midweek games, and then Friday will be a preview show. But anyway, make sure you call the hotline with your hot takes. If you have like a random topic that you want covered, bring that up in the hotline so we maybe do an episode on it with these 3 episodes a week. But 615-900-4286. Call that hotline, leave a voicemail, hottest take, trash talk, observations from the weekend, whatever you got. Jeff, what do we got for this one?
We'll kick it off with our good friend Creme Brulee is back.
Group of 5 guys. It's your boy, Creme Brulee. Taking a little hiatus, but this past week with your conference breakdowns has brought me back. I moved to Kansas City, so some personal opportunities have come about. You know damn well that doesn't mean I'm going to be silent this season. This is the season, boys. Everything's in line. Jordan McLeod, Ishmael Mahdi, my coach, G.J. Kinney. We are going to take it to the Sun Belt, and I can't wait to have this season come out like we all think it will be. The vibes are immaculate in San Marcos, and we're ready, boys. We are so ready. I can't wait to see y'all at the UTSA game. I cannot express enough how much those UTSA community college birds talk, and I cannot wait until we put 50-something on them. But can't wait to see y'all at UTSA. Can't wait to interact with y'all this upcoming season. It's the season, guys. We're ready. God bless.
Appreciate you, Creme Brulee. Glad to hear from you, pal.
I was wondering,
it's been a while,
and I was wondering if he was going to make an appearance at that week 2 game. Which, by the way, Jeff,
that's going to be a late.
Countdown is on here. We are about a week and a half away.
Go shout out all the stuff we got going on that weekend.
Dipping my toes in the San Marcos River, my friend.
And I'm not going to eat for like a week. I'm going to try and do a hard cut. Drop about 10 pounds.
I need to do. Does anybody recommend? I keep seeing it comes up on my Facebook. The colon cleanse. That's something that would work. You think?
Oh, man.
Maybe that might not be a good idea right
Reminds me
before
of the
hopping on
Nutty
the plane.
Professor when they're sitting at the dinner table and the mom's like, I'm going to get my colon cleansed.
Yeah, I gotta do something. Good thing is I got a nice base tan for my little beach trip and my
go.
swing set build. I've been out there in my shortest shorts and my no shirt, making sure I get a nice base. But yeah, so we got for that week 2 game, by the way, if you're a Texas State or a UTSA fan, so Friday morning, assuming everything goes well with flights, Jeff and I are going to get in there, get the rental car, going to go do all our work stuff, right? Check out the facilities, interviews, all of that. And then 4 p.m. local time is the plan to meet at Sewell Park. We'll be dipping our toes in the river there, Jeff.
I can't
And
wait.
then Saturday, of course, is the game. I mean, we'll be out there as soon as gates open, as soon as parking opens. So we're going to have a big time tailgate out there with the Maroon and Golden NIL collective, Scout tailgates, all those guys there at Texas State. It is going to be, I'm hearing pizza, I'm hearing drinks, I'm hearing barbecue. I don't know all the, I don't know what all's in for us, Jeff. When we go to these games, sometimes it's very unexpected because you'll go to one place and they'll be like, you got to go to so-and-so's tailgate. And then you go to so-and-so's tailgate and, there's hot dogs and there's Bud Light. But then you go to another tailgate and you got some kind of special recipe. You got some kind of a special drink that they do. Next thing you know, you're ripping shots off of a pickaxe. Next thing you know, I don't know.
So I don't know. Sweating and grinding.
Next thing you know, you're in some. Yeah, I don't know, man. But yeah, can't wait for that. And then just that game by itself. I mean, that's the main. Look, we wouldn't be going if it wasn't for that game. So I cannot wait to see that game. I cannot wait to see that tailgate, that environment. And I tell you, I was sort of joking about the river, like we had to do it. It was a must because we missed it a couple summers ago, but it's happening now.
It's a definite now, 100%.
I got no choice. But now creme brulee or somebody, if somebody's on, what's the water temp there now? Because I
feel like I saw the president talking about it comes out of like a spring, I think, natural spring, and it keeps it at like a cool temperature all year round. At least that's what I've heard.
Joe, I would not wear a t-shirt. I will never be that guy.
You're not going to be that guy
to wear a t-shirt in the pool. I don't care how fat I get, how fat I am. I'm not wearing a t-shirt in the water. I mean, that's just. It's like, honestly, I think that makes you look worse.
Well, because it gets like suction. Unless you have a water t-shirt, those are kind of built where they don't.
Yeah, but if you wear a regular t-shirt and then it's like,
you gotta go
then it like fits itself into any shape and form, and you're just
look, Express. You got to show off what the farmer's walks and all the shoulder presses have been doing for you.
I mean, if you looked at me from an inch above the nips, you'd be like, that guy works out. But you look at me below there, you're like that. And then they're gonna give me pizza. Good thing the river's the first day.
Oh yeah,
because you go get real bloated. You have a couple beers, couple slices of pizza. That is not going to be a good look. But anyway, we got another voicemail, Jeff?
Yeah, we got 2 more to go, and just want to re-shout out the live chat on YouTube. If you're on Facebook, if you're on Twitter, hop over to that YouTube link in the live chat. It's a good back and forth in there. Tyler Arendt got some new names in there. Joe Judkins is in there. Alex Schultz is in there. Daniel Bremer from earlier, Mr. Juan's World. So we got a good Matt Hardigan. Got a good crew in there this Monday morning. So we'll get to our next, speaking of Joe Judkins, we'll get to our next call.
Hell yeah.
Gentlemen, Joe Judkins. It's game week, boys. Time for all the prognosticating, pontificating, predicating, and all other forms of bullshit to cease. Chit-chat season's over, fellas. It's time to lace them up, snap them up, zip them up, strap them up, and let's go. It's football season, by God. We're going to kick things off with the Sunbelt and Veterans Memorial Stadium in Troy Saturday at 1800 local when we pack the vet against the Wolfpack in Nevada. And the next chapter of Troy football will begin the Gerald Parker era, and we are ready, batter ready. Boys, the Sunbelt will have no foul nor four-legged mammal creatures in the championship game. No wolves, no golden or southern eagles, no hawks of war, or green buffaloes, or blue lions, or no blue panther, bobcat, or rooster, and damn sure not a fucking jaguar. No, sir, boys, the Sunbelt will be represented by warriors, men warriors, Mighty Trojan or a Raging Cajun will play the Dukes of Hazzardburg or the Mountain Men of Boone, November 23rd. Semifinals of the Sun Belt. Book that. So Cream Brulee, Steeple, T. Johnson, Zach Brainer, Stu's Wright, Hemi, and all you other Sun Belt faithful, let's get it. You boys get to Troy. You know I got the fish and the puppies ready with a cold beer and a whiskey back. Just let me know. Thank you for everything you do and everything you bring us. I really appreciate it. Enjoy you guys. Have a great season, fellas. See you in Troy. Go Trojans.
That's a money call right there, dude. And he slipped an F-bomb.
You need to clip. He did. You need to clip that first little segment before he went into the Troy specific. I think that now is a potential future part of an introduction for every season. That was pretty good, Joe.
That was,
and he ain't lying. Funny. He ain't lying. Anybody that's listening, if you're making the trip over to Troy, go over there to the alumni house, link up with Joe. Them hush puppies are special now. So
I love it.
Yeah, the first time I went over to Troy, it wasn't Joe, but I can't remember who it was. Somebody broke their chair. Had been eating too many hush puppies and fried fish. Somebody sat down.
Fried grouper,
chair,
baby. I get you.
Chair collapsed. It was a good little icebreaker, you know.
That's hilarious.
Is that do we have another one?
We got one more.
One more voicemail. Let's get it.
Group of 5 guys. Terry Johnson here calling. Sunday after week 0 of college football. South Nevada hit the game away against SMU. You know, can't do that. Get a Power 4 to come to your stadium to close out the game. But I think Nevada's going to be okay in the coming years with that head coach they got. New Mexico State came in, had Montana State. I predicted Montana State to win that game, not going to lie to you. So it didn't really surprise me. But Mountain West just tough break for them, week 0 college football. Georgia Tech, probably not going to get a lot of respect. Probably Florida State's just going to, the talking heads are going to say that Florida State didn't play a good game and Georgia Tech just lucked out. Georgia Tech's going to get that Group of 5 treatment. People are going to just overlook them. But, hey, a lot of people know how they feel, how we feel as Group of 5 fans, and that gives us respect. But shout out to Georgia Tech for, I know it's a G5 podcast, but shout out to Georgia Tech for just shutting up all the talking heads and proving Sheamus, a WWE wrestler, had the right prediction over Nick Saban, which is funny. Georgia State, I don't think Georgia State could. I thought Georgia State could beat Georgia Tech this coming year, but looking at how they played, probably not. ZG go playing. Hey, Zach Green, we had a good back and forth on Conference USA and Sun Belt. And hey, I will totally admit Liberty is a great team, top 5 G5 team. But also having said that, Conference USA is, not the best G5. They can be, but it's not the best G5 conference. It just isn't. They have potential. They could be, but it's just not. It just isn't. Not with what they have right now. It can definitely come up there. But even in a weaker conference, Liberty is still a great team. I will totally acknowledge that. They're a great team, great coaching, great players, all that. UL still hasn't named the starting quarterback yet. I hope it's, I'm not going to say, I hope it is. I'm just going to say that Chandler Fields has a great release as a starting quarterback. And Ben Woldridge is, taller, bigger, a little bit faster, releases and all that great. But he's a great leader, man. There's a lot that goes into choosing a starting quarterback that Murph put out other than, talent. Can you lead? Or do people, gravitate towards you? Stuff like that. So, I know we can win with either or. I still don't expect a lot from this year's team. I do think the Sun Belt can get a Group of 5 representative in the playoff. Appreciate y'all. God bless Group of 5. God bless Group of 5 guys. Go Cajuns.
Appreciate you, Terry. I think UL's gonna be they're gonna be solid, man. They're not an easy out.
No, and I need them to be playing for a championship according to my picks.
That's very true.
I need
them so I can
that,
get down and get some boudin.
Yeah, dude. That's a good time down there in Lafayette. Well, I think felt like I knew where he was leaning to which QB he wants. But that's something we got to talk about. I think we might dig into that a little bit on Wednesday, Jeff. Selecting a quarterback, what are all the outside things? And we could maybe do that for multiple positions at some point during this season. But you guys keep calling that hotline, 615-900-4286. Live chat was rolling this morning, Jeff.
Yeah, it was. Everybody up on this Monday morning, fired up.
You know, and I'm sitting here looking at we've been on right at an hour, Jeff, and I'm sitting here looking at like we had 3 games. We're gonna have to pick up the pace next week, buddy. And see, it gets real hard the first 3 or 4 weeks when it's all the non-conference because you literally have 60 games. And then once they get into conference, it shrinks down to like 25 or so games every week. So we're gonna have to we're gonna be like, you know, the excuse makers in the Power Four of, you know, it's week 1, you got to work out the offensive kinks. That's how Jeff and I are going to be this week. But we get it figured out. We always do. We will make it work. I can't wait. It is week 1. It is game week. I will be in Statesboro on Saturday, checking out the Eagles and checking out the Broncos of Boise State. I'm going to come back. Jeff, I already got a little notepad. I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you on Wednesday when I come. I got a little notepad. I'm going to be so prepared this year. I want to be, you know, I need to be a little more like credible. Okay. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to do my glute and calf check, but I'm going to be out there. I'm going to have my little notepad. I'm going to be taking notes. Jim Nagy might start calling me for Senior Bowl advice.
We're going to try and get him on the show.
We got to get him on the show. We got to do it. We're getting close to getting him on the show. We've been trying for a little while. We saw him in passing once, and we just, you know, sometimes you get a little, it's like, it's so funny how being a grown ass adult and you get like nervous or whatever about like, it ain't even like a starstruck. It's a society, Jeff, have gone so off that we don't even know how to spark up a conversation anymore.
Terrible.
Isn't that bad? I feel really bad because I'm already trying to train my kid.
I know.
Like my 4-year-old kid, like we be at the playground or at church or wherever. And I'm like, well, go talk to him. It's a friend. He's playing with the same toys you want to play with. Go up there and talk to him. And I'm like, you know what, son? I don't know what I would do either. I probably would just be like, well, just wait till he's done. I'll just stand over here in the corner. You know what I mean? It's bad, dude. So I got to teach him. And then, you know, it's not even, he ain't even ready for when he's going to have to talk to a woman.
Forget it.
Which, I mean, hopefully he's good at sports because otherwise either good at sports, good looking or funny or rich.
Yeah, I know, right?
You ain't going to get all of those. That's for damn sure.
No.
So, I mean, I'm rich and funny, but anyway, well, hey, that's all we got for you guys on this Monday morning. Make sure you go to decagray.com, get you your coffee. You're damn right, by the way. I'm true blue till I die. Deca Gray, use our code GOFG, get you some coffee. I also noticed on there, I was messing around today. They got some holiday stuff on there.
Yeah.
So you may want to get your pumpkin spice and your Christmas, whatever,
roast,
you know, Christmas roast, chestnuts roasting, before the holidays come in. I'm going to have to get a bag of that pumpkin spice for my wife. She's all into that stuff. But, anyway, go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure everybody that's in that YouTube chat, make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the like button. Go leave a comment after the show. That helps out as well, if it's not necessarily in the live chat. But most importantly, share it with your family and friends. Get everybody on there. Get y'all talking trash. And then follow us on all the social platforms at Group of Five Guys. That's all we got for you guys this Monday morning. Have a fantastic week.